Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So today we're going to be talking about what's going on with California non-resident carry permits. You guys might remember, if you've been watching the channel for a while, I made a video, it was like back in August, talking about the CRPA v. LASD lawsuit and a major victory that came out of that lawsuit that would allow people who don't live in California to get California CCWs. This was, again, a major victory because as it stands right now, you basically lose a majority of your Second Amendment rights once you cross state line. Well, that was back in August. It's now January of 2025. What's going on? Now, if you support the Second Amendment and you want to hear more updates about what's going on here and with other 2A topics, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. A thumbs up is always appreciated, and that alarm bell will let you know when new videos come out because we're going to be staying on top of this. So let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. So again, I made a video back in August, and that was because a district court judge, a federal district court judge, granted an injunction in part in a lawsuit called CRPA v. LASD. And again, that was challenging non-residents being able to carry in the state of California. So while this wasn't the outcome that we were hoping for, which would be, some sort of reciprocity with California, because as of right now, California doesn't recognize any other state's permits. So if you have a permit from Nevada or Utah or somewhere back east or Texas, you can't use that permit in the state of California. It's still a victory because it allows people who, let's say, visit California fairly frequently. There's a lot of people that have family there that have moved out of state, but they still go by to visit, often. Or maybe they travel there for work and they would still like to be able to carry. This at least opens an avenue for them to be able to get a permit to do so. So again, even though it wasn't the victory that we were all hoping for, it's still a good win. Now, in the judge's August 20th order, she made it fairly clear what she wanted them to do. She wanted the parties to get together to come up with rules and regulations so that the new carry permit scheme could be implemented. And the parties did just that. But in her August 20th order, she writes, "In conclusion, for the foregoing reason, the court grants in part and denies in part plaintiff's motions for a preliminary injunction. The court further orders," and we're going to skip down to number 2 here, "within 30 calendar days of this order being entered on the docket, plaintiffs must meet and confer with the state and the LA defendants to submit a proposed order entering the preliminary injunction consistent with the specific findings made in this order." So basically just telling the plaintiffs and the defendants to get together to come up with an agreement on rules and regulations governing non-resident carry permits. And guess what? It actually happened. This is the document that was filed on September 23rd. So on September 23rd, they basically said, okay, here is our proposed order for the injunction, which allows, again, for those non-resident California carry permits. I mean, this is a very rare occurrence in the state of California. You have two people who obviously completely disagree about something, right? In the CRPA and the plaintiffs, and then Rob Bonta, the California Department of Justice, getting together to come up with something like this. I didn't think it would honestly happen, but it did happen, and this was submitted on September 23rd. So back in September, we already had this submitted to the judge. Now here we are, January 4th, and still nothing. Now, the judge could have very easily taken care of this last year so that we could be moving forward with the non-resident carry permit process, but she hasn't. The only reasonable conclusion at this point is that the judge is dragging her feet on this one. And that's because this was an amicable decision, right? We had two parties that came together, that came up with this document together. This is not something where one party submitted something and another party submitted something else, and then there had to be back and forth with, different decisions and submissions and until they finally came up with the final decision, which obviously could take months, maybe a year. The two parties came together, and within the 30-day time period, they had this submitted to the judge. So this is all just very frustrating. I mean, the judge dragging her feet on this one, in my opinion, is just completely abhorrent. I mean, you don't lose your First Amendment rights when you cross state lines. You shouldn't lose your Second Amendment rights when you cross state lines. The second isn't a second-class right, and it shouldn't be treated different than any other. But California has somehow put up this invisible barrier that where if you're not a resident of their state and you cross that invisible barrier, the Bill of Rights seems to no longer apply to you. So again, we're just waiting to see what the judge does here. Everything has been submitted. Everything is in place for non-residents to be able to apply for California carry permits, but nothing's happened as of yet. Again, I understand it's not reciprocity, it's not constitutional carry, it's not all the great things that we want to see happen, and hopefully something will happen this year on a federal level that forces national reciprocity. That would be phenomenal. I'd love to see it. But until that time, I would still like to be able to travel over there without the fear of ending up in prison over it. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. That as of right now, we're just waiting on the judge. Thank you all very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. You guys have a great day.